Happy New Year. The NFL football season has come to an end, and we're about to enter the playoffs. For this episode, we're going to cover Black Monday, our quarterback speculation for next year. My name is Champion Lord Maximus, and this is with Swag to the Moon.
And I'm Cole Lipinski, and then today we have special guests. Dr. Kyle Walsh is with us, and our special guest, Nate Walsh, who is our NFL expert.
Hey guys, how's it going today? Just glad to be here on the podcast. Going to talk a little smack to all you Viking fans. Go Packers.
You can't talk too much because Ponder did just throw 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and beat you, not letting you get a first-round bye. But we digress. The first thing we've got up is Black Monday. The day, if you don't know, it is where the owners of teams throw the axe down on their team if they were shitty this year, and they fire coaches and general managers. And there were a lot of firings. Max, why don't you start out with the Arizona Cardinals?
The Arizona Cardinals decided to fire Ken Whisenhunt. I don't know, did they fire their GM or did they keep him? Yeah. And the GM too. Wow, they're just cleaning house. How about that?
Well, after you lose 54-0, no one's job is safe anymore.
I mean, but is it a really good call? I mean, they tried to go out and get Cobb, who just turned out to be a disaster. Whisenhunt brought him to the Super Bowl. I think he's a pretty good coach. I don't know. He just didn't have the support behind him.
And then you look at it, the only offensive player they have is Larry Fitzgerald, and he can't do anything if a quarterback can't have any time to throw the ball. And then they had no running backs at all. The only running back they had was Beanie Wells, and he didn't play until week 14.
They also had LeRod Stevens-Howling, who he did pretty well filling in for him. And they have a great defense and special teams. Patrick Peterson, their cornerback, when he's returning punts, it's fun to watch.
But it really doesn't matter when your quarterback's name is Skelton. I mean, the guy can't throw a pass 20 yards. It's bad.
The other guy was Hinley, or it was someone that won't ever start in a game. The fact that we don't know his name is bad too. But there's one report I heard from Adam Schefter, the actual ESPN NFL expert, I guess, is that they fired the whole offensive side of the ball in Arizona. Every coordinator, like the line coach, except their defense. All their defensive guys are there next year, but no offense. So
yeah, and I also think it'll be interesting to see where Whisenhunt goes. I mean, he's pretty offensive. He's kind of an offensive genius, and it should be interesting to see who picks him up.
All right, and next is the Buffalo Bills. We're just going to go down the list here. Coach Chan Gailey was fired, and yeah, the Bills, I don't think they were that bad. I mean, you had 3 seasons and didn't do anything with it, but it's not all the head coach's fault there, I don't think.
Yeah, whoever comes in to replace him is going to come into a pretty nice situation. Hopefully Ryan Fitzpatrick will have a good offseason and be able to play consistently through into the later months of the season.
The other thing, too, is if they they've got a solid backfield because C.J. Spiller will be the starting running. He'll be the premier back, and Fred Jackson will be his backup. Probably, I could see him actually being a third down back and a goal line vulture for him. But I think they need more wide receivers because Stevie Johnson he's not Donald Jones. Stevie Johnson and Donald Jones just aren't going to cut it for an NFL team.
I think they should also look into changing their quarterback position. I mean, Fitzpatrick has had his opportunities, and he has not done anything with them. And they can blame the head coach all they want, but a lot of it's on him. I think they need to look at maybe a Matt Flynn from Seattle, maybe go for him. He might sit on the bench again, but at least go for him.
The other thing, too, is I don't think any team's going to pay Matt Flynn $10 million for one game. That was the dumbest thing the Seahawks could have done. But I would...
They didn't think Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they didn't think Russell Wilson was going to be anything. But I would have get paid $10 million to sit on the bench and not have any concussions and live a long and happy life.
Yeah.
But the next one was actually the big surprise of the year is Lovie Smith. And he was actually a good coach, 9 seasons, 3 playoff appearances. Did he take him to the Super Bowl that one year? Yeah, he took him to the Super Bowl, and it was just, I don't know. That was the surprise of yesterday. When I saw that, I was like, I thought it was a typo at first, but it wasn't.
Yeah, well, it's never a good move when you bring Mike Tyson to be your offensive coordinator. I mean, that'll get you in trouble. I just think that's where he went wrong. Yeah, it's kind of weird to fire him. He's been the staple for the Bears. He's kind of built up their program back to, relativity.
And when you start off, what were they, 7-1?
Yeah.
They started off 7-1, and then you wind up 10-7 or something like that. You're just not that something happened there, and I think the main thing is they rely too much on their offensive side on just Brandon Marshall, and he is a receiver that can get open, but you need help, and you need a solid tight end or just a slot receiver. So,
and their offensive line has been bad for the past 2, maybe 3 years. If they could finally get that whole situation figured out and keep Cutler standing upright, I'd be a lot more scared of the Bears than I am now.
And the other thing, too, is reports came in today that Lovie Smith is – it will be either by Friday or the end of the day or Friday that Lovie Smith will be the head coach of Arizona. So he's going from a pretty good situation to a pretty shitty situation. Up next are the Cleveland Browns. They fired Coach Pat Schumer and GM Todd Heckert. I don't think I watched the Cleveland Browns play once, but you got a new coach coming in. He's going to have actually pretty good weapons with Trent Richardson and I'm not sure who their wide receiver was.
Oh, but they got a new general manager, I believe, last year. I can't, or maybe no, they got a new owner. So a lot of people saw coming into this year that Pat Schumer didn't really stand a chance at keeping his job, because when you get a new owner, you expect a lot of firings and rehirings to happen. Oh, okay. So we're now learning that Josh Gordon was the receiver I was blanking on earlier, and Greg Little. Yeah, he was a good PPR guy last year. I remember that.
Yeah, I really don't even know where the Browns should pick off. I mean, who do you draft when you don't have anybody? Yeah, I think you gotta start somewhere. I think you gotta start at the line if you're gonna start somewhere.
And we see drafting a lineman can get you in the playoffs like the Vikings did. The first pick was a lineman, and they are now in the playoffs. The other thing, though, is it's that easy. You just draft a lineman, you get in. But
just one though.
yeah, you just draft one lineman. But the Browns' defense, just looking here at their stats over the season, it looks like they forced a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, they have a pretty solid run defense.
Yeah, their run defense is pretty good, and they got that he's a pretty good I think he's a cornerback or free safety.
He's a cornerback, and his name is Joe Hayden. That's it.
Joe Hayden. I was gonna say I don't Joe Hayden. And yeah, so I think the Browns, they're gonna be the Browns still. They're gonna be one of the 4-12 team like they always are. Up next is the dismal Kansas City Chiefs. They have parted ways with Coach Romeo Crennel. They haven't made a final decision on the GM yet. But there's somewhere where you have nowhere to start. They really don't have anything because Jamal Charles. All right, they have Jamal Charles, but other than that, they've got Dwayne Bowe he doesn't want to be there. Matt Castle's terrible. Brady Quinn is not much better, but
yeah, what to say about the Chiefs? They started off looking pretty good this season. After beating the Saints, you kind of looked and went, whoa, their run game is crazy, and then you realized, hey, it's the Saints, and their run defense is awful, and I don't know. I think you just got to build around Jamal Charles, kind of like the Vikings built around Adrian Peterson.
And the other thing too is the only thing that I think the Chiefs were good for this year is picking up the defense that was playing them in fantasy football, because you'd pick them up, doesn't matter who it was, you were going to get at least like 8 points. You were going to get a good solid chunk of points, but going 2-14 is just disastrous.
I felt that way about our next topic, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. We're at the end of their season. Whoever Nick Foles was throwing against, that defense was. So Andy Reid, after 14 years, is being released from Philadelphia. Along with the general manager, is that what I saw, or are they keeping him?
I think they're keeping him.
Okay. I read an article yesterday that Reid was hoping, or if he could choose where to go, he said he would like to go to San Diego and take Norv Turner's job. I don't know where to go off of that.
But the thing though with the Eagles is that they have no quarterback now because Nick Foles is he's not that great. He's a rookie, right?
Yeah.
And he just isn't that good. He did have one good game, but
it was his first game, Yeah, it was his first game, and he was making good, timely decisions. But a lot of that is, he didn't have the preparation work because he didn't think he was going to go in. You see that a lot with, and the defense didn't get to prepare.
But the other thing too is if you're behind Michael Vick or really any running quarterback for that matter, you should be prepared because they go down faster than anyone. And the other thing, whatever coach comes into the Eagles they have to come in and they have to deal with a weak quarterback system. Two strong running backs, as Bryce Brown kind of broke out at the end of the season there, and LaShawn McCoy. They're both great running backs, and you got to deal with kind of the head case hot-headedness of Deshaun Jackson, and that's three offensive things you need to come into right away and deal with right away, and those are three pretty tough things because Deshaun Jackson's a Pro Bowl player and he is a hothead and he's kind of a baby when it comes. If things aren't going his way, he's gonna fade out of the system.
I would rather have Deshaun Jackson than Santonio Holmes, though. Yeah. I'll throw that one out there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as it goes, I think the Eagles have a pretty great situation going. I mean, they were the dream team. Yeah. That was not too long ago, and I think they got a great defense. They got to get out of that wide nine bull crap. That stuff is bad. They just got to play solid defense, get back to actual football. They got to run the ball more than 30% of the time too, because you can't be passing the ball that much when you have Deshaun or McCoy. We'll go there.
And the last big firing is the San Diego Chargers fired Norv Turner and general manager A.J. Smith. I didn't think that wasn't too surprising because Norv Turner he hasn't done much, but when Phillip Rivers turns the ball over 45 times or something like that, you're not going to be winning many games.
Yeah, I think this was a great move for San Diego, at least getting rid of the general manager. I've heard that he's made some questionable draft picks over the past couple of years, and I've heard Norv Turner can kind of be like a Mike Shanahan type of head coach where you just don't really know what he's going to do next, and he's pretty unpredictable.
Well, earlier in the season, he benched Ryan Matthews for Jackie Battle, and who? That was a fantasy football debate for a long time. Because after that, he scored what was it, like 2-3 touchdowns, and then it was like, oh, Jackie Battle's the guy now. He's the top dog in San Diego. So pick him up, and he wasn't probably used once after that. So.
Fun fact, Ryan Matthews has broken more clavicles than he got touchdowns this year, with 2 broken clavicles and 1 touchdown.
That's bad. And I know Ryan Matthews was he was one of those guys that you people drafted high and thought he was going to have a big season. This just in, breaking news. The the San Francisco 49ers the San Francisco 49ers signed kicker Billy Cundiff. He was the kicker for the Baltimore Ravens. Then he went to Washington and he sucked. He missed a bunch of kicks. It's like somebody picking up Crosby. So
yeah, as far as the Chargers go, I mean, trying to get back to topic here. Yeah, they got rid of all their offensive weapons. Okay. I mean, they got rid of Vincent Jackson, who was, at the end of the season, was pretty electric. And, I mean, you give Phillip Rivers nobody, and he's a wild quarterback anyway. He's going to throw the ball into tight spaces. If you don't give him weapons, he's going to throw interceptions.
And then they brought in Robert Meacham, who I made the mistake of thinking he was going to have a big season and didn't. I drafted him a lot, but Phillip Rivers was a wild gunslinger quarterback where he would just he with Vincent Jackson, he would bomb it down the field and just expect Vincent Jackson to just make the play and jump up so yeah, that's Black Monday. And then there's a few here that up in the air that they're saying Ron Rivera, the coach for the Panthers, is that doesn't make that he's on the hot seat. I don't think he's
I mean, how good the Panthers were down the stretch from where they were in the beginning of the year. Suggestion box Cam Newton wanted. I mean, they were clueless, and now, I mean, it looked like they brought it together and really were You didn't want to play the Panthers at the end of the season.
And then it's the Detroit Lions with Jim Schwartz and their GM. They're thinking about letting them both go, which I don't get why. Jim Schwartz has been there, and he's turned that 0-16 team into a playoff team. And the other thing, too, is you're not going to win many games when your whole defensive backfield has got DUIs and are in jail and just get cut. That's not going to win you many games ever. And the other person is Mike Mularkey of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're saying he's on the hot seat after his boss, the general manager Gene Smith, was fired this Monday morning. And the main reason is Mularkey wasn't able to develop young quarterback Blaine Gabbert, which he's just not a good quarterback. It's bad when Chad Henne is a better quarterback than you are.
He looked good.
Yeah, with Jacksonville, you can't really expect that head coach job to be secure until they really turn things around, definitely.
The other thing too is you draft Justin Blackmon, and you draft Justin Blackmon with a top 5 pick, and you don't throw the ball. He looked very good down the stretch, but you don't throw him the ball like ever. I mean, he had such a big he had such big impact potential, and he only had one game this year over 100 yards receiving and four touchdowns. That's not a good.
That's not a top 5.
That's not a top 5 pick, but.
Well, like, after a couple years, once he gets his route running down or works on his fundamentals, he could return his value for a top pick, but it's hard picking a wide receiver unless his name is Calvin Johnson in the top 5.
And the other thing is Maurice Jones-Drew went down right away, which kind of took out their whole season because he played for the first 7 weeks, and after Maurice Jones-Drew went down, that was their season because last year he was that offense. That he was. And the other thing too is when your best wide receiver on the team is Cecil Shorts, that's never good either.
Yeah, I think they got the beginning of a pretty good offense if they can get a quarterback in there. I mean, you got MJD and you got Blackman and Cecil Shorts, I guess. And I think they have something to build on there. I don't know how their defense is. All right, so Black Monday was great. But it's over, and now we got to look ahead to this weekend. And in the ancient words of Jim Mora, that means playoffs. Are you kidding me? Playoffs. All right, we got a lot of exciting matchups here, and I think we got to start off with Packer Viking. I think that's a good starting zone. I don't know how the intensity can be matched from last week. It was great.
And now we've stated on the show earlier, I am a Vikings fan. Max Champion Lord Maximus is a Packers fan, and now Nate Walsh here is also a Packers fan. Dr. Kyle is a unaffiliated. He likes the New Orleans Saints. That's just not right. It's just not right. He likes bounty hunters as well. Who dat? But the Packers-Viking game, that was a great game last weekend. I mean, even though the Packers lost in the end, you have to admit it was a fucking exciting game to watch the whole time.
I couldn't sit still. I was pacing back and forth, and I had no faith in Mason Crosby. I mean, oh man, I just wanted to go on Twitter and hashtag miracle all over the place when he actually made a kick.
And then there's Blair Walsh, the greatest kicker in the NFL right now. But he is actually the greatest. He is the best kicker in the NFL right now. 10 for 10 for 50 yards. And now, Max, it looks like you are just disappointed with Mason Crosby.
Well, I had to work Sunday, so I didn't get to see the game. We were listening to it on the radio at work. I don't know. Well, I was bussing, so I was like out in the restaurant.
Get to listen to the Packers network.
No, we were listening to KQ, so we had to listen to
Listen to the morons.
Yeah, I wanted to vomit the whole night.
You have to say though, the Vikings, Paul Allen for the Vikings radio is probably one of the best play-by-play announcers for both sides because it's the other guys like the color commentators that kind of are one-sided. He is very good with both sides. Like really, he gets really excited about like every play, and so it's almost like last year when the Vikings were really shitty. It was fun listening to it more than watching it because he would make it sound so much more exciting to watch Donovan McNabb throw the football at people's feet.
Yeah, I can't do it. It just makes me too mad to listen to the Vikings radio network. I just can't do it. But what do you think each team needs to do to win this game here?
For the Packers to win, I think they need to just do what they do, and that is what they need to pass the ball, and have a high-paced, high-powered offense. That they didn't bring that last week on Sunday against the Vikings.
I think the biggest problem Sunday against the Vikings is they got down in the hole too soon, and a lot of the Packers' offense now has been relying on an early run game with some play action, pass action, because the defense is just keying pass. And if you get down, then they can key pass altogether and just forget run.
And that running back the Packers have now, Harris, he looks very good.
It was nice to see him bring Ryan Grant back, even though he's cooked, but it was nice to see him playing again. I think it's great that Green Bay is going to be playing at Lambeau, because playing at the Dome, it's loud. You can't call any audibles. It makes it really tough, and just tackling. I watched the highlights. Some Green Bay defenders were just trying to knock Adrian Peterson off his feet. You can't do that to AP. You have to respect him. You got to wrap him up. Wait for some teammates to get there and help you out, and you got to tackle him.
Yeah, I watched the game, and Tramon Williams looked completely awful. I mean, I don't think I've seen him have a worse game. It was that one attempt to hit Adrian Peterson looked like a 7th grader trying to tackle the varsity quarterback, and it was just all sorts of bad.
Also, I think it was on one of Peterson's big runs. I think it was a 30-yard run or whatever. He gets up in the hole. I think it's even Tramon Williams. He goes up to hit it, and he just gets out of the way. He's like, I don't want any part of that, which you don't. I would rather, and it's a question, it's kind of a funny question. Would you rather get trucked over by Adrian Peterson or sacked by Jared Allen? Like that, you don't want either.
Run over by AP.
Yeah.
At least you have your dignity if you get run over by AP. He's Superman. You get tackled by Allen. He's doing the calf thing. It's just not pretty.
So Max, you wanna what do the Vikings need to do to win this week?
They need to keep Clay Matthews under control. I heard Rudolph was his assignment with him and maybe another offensive lineman. Yeah, was to just keep Clay under control. If they can keep doing that and keep Ponder standing up, because that's all Green Bay has to pass rush is Clay Matthews. Everyone else is hurt. We might have Charles Woodson back. That
It's not gonna matter.
yeah,
Tramon just needs to get his head out of his ass.
yeah, goddamn injuries. Yeah, as long as Minnesota can can stay upright, keep giving AP the ball, and just keep playing good defense, they might have a chance.
And the other thing too is the thing that's been the best with the Vikings, other than it goes Peterson, and then the next thing, their defense has been playing really well. Chad Greenway leading the league in tackles again this year, and their special teams, their punt returners and kick returners, get them in very good field position where. If they don't, all they need, Sherrills he doesn't need to get it all the way down. He needs to get it to about the 40. So all they have to do is drive 20 yards for Blair Walsh to kick a field goal. And keeping it in the NFC, we've got the Seattle and Washington Redskins game, which I think will be a great game for if you like to watch a lot of high-powered, fast offense and a great defense in Seattle.
I think there's only going to be two things that are going to happen in this game. Either it's going to be close with, whoever wins on a last-second field goal, or Seattle blows them out. I guess it depends what Seattle team shows up. Yeah. Can the Beast get going early? Can Russell Wilson be unstoppable like he has been?
And the other thing, too, is if their defense can play the way that they've been playing by causing just so many turnovers and touchdowns. I think it was week 14 or 15. They blocked Akers' kick and ran that back for a touchdown, and that was just sweet because you never really see a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, and that helped me win $100 in my fantasy football league by that one play.
And on the Washington side of the ball, it'll be nice to see RG3 play in his first playoff game. Hopefully Alfred Morris will show up and keep running the football the way he has. I don't know. Santana Moss, Garcon. What's Garcon's first? Pierre Garcon. That's it. Hopefully he can stay healthy throughout the playoffs. If they have him, they're a lot better team with him on the field.
Also, this is the first time in NFL history there's been 3 rookie quarterbacks in the playoffs with Russell Wilson, RG3, and Andrew Luck. And also second-year quarterback Andy Dalton and Christian Ponder.
And the San Francisco one.
And Kaepernick, he's a rookie? Second year. So we got 3 second year, 3 rookies. And then we got the studs of Schaub, Manning, Brady, Rodgers. And Flacco. And then we go to the AFC side, and we got the Bengals and the dwindling Houston Texans, who have just in the past few weeks just haven't looked like themselves.
Yeah, they're kind of starting to fall apart. They lost to the Colts last week, an interdivision loss.
2 weeks ago, they lost to the Minnesota Vikings.
Green Bay beat them first. Even worse than Minnesota beat them, so suck on those nuts.
Minnesota was projected to win 5 games this year, so they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they're going to go home pretty early in the playoffs. I don't know if they can do it at Lambeau, but we'll talk about the Houston Texans here. They just, I don't know, they haven't looked good. Their defense, where has it been? They have not had any corner play, and they're up against, what are they up against again? The Bengals, which actually is a great matchup for them because Dalton has looked awful in the past few weeks. His only good play ends up being in the red zone, which he hasn't had in the beginning of the season. So, you don't know what you're going to get from him.
The other couple things with that is the Bengals. I think the last few weeks they played. I know they played Pittsburgh in there and Philadelphia, and he did pretty well against Philadelphia, but against Pittsburgh, it's just a interconference slobber knocker. It's never high scoring, and Pittsburgh's D just gets on them right away.
Yeah, that was a close game. It was decided by a field goal. Roethlisberger threw an interception with like 5 seconds left. It was great. Next, the Baltimore Ravens play the Indianapolis Colts. Kind of nice to see that happen just for those fan bases, since Indianapolis moved from Baltimore. They used to be the Baltimore Colts. So I don't know, there's some nice history there.
That is. And I just kind of realized this here. The Washington Redskins had the first overall pick. The Colts had the second. No, the other way around. Colts had first, Redskins had second, Browns had third, and then the Vikings had fourth. So 4 of the teams who were in the top 5 for the draft are in the playoffs, which is that's crazy and kind of amazing on how much, because I think all the players that got drafted, RG3, Andrew Luck, Matt Khalil, and Harrison Smith got drafted in the first round for the Vikings, and those players have just helped them out so much to get to the postseason on teams that had 2 wins from the Colts, 3 wins from the Vikings, and then I don't even know how much Redskins won last year. It was something like 3 or 4.
You could maybe throw Seattle into that group. They didn't have a great year last year. I think they were in the top 5 or top 10 for picks. Maybe they were like the 11th pick or something. But they've really turned it around this year.
So with Ray Lewis returning to the defense for the Baltimore Ravens, and them maybe getting back to how they were on defense with this, if they can get solid play out of Flacco, that's a big if. But if they can get that, I think they'll win the game. I mean, it's at Baltimore. That's a huge advantage. Luck has not played well away from home. They're not played as well, at least. He's thrown a lot of picks away.
Other thing too is if the Ravens want to win, if they get down a touchdown early or a touchdown, 10 points early, they can't abandon the run game like they've done so many times this year. Where they've got Ray Rice, he's a top 3 running back in the league, and you just don't give him the ball. I just don't understand that, because if he's on, he'll get you 5 to 8 yards a carry, which is just great because he's so small and he's shifty and he gets through everything. But if they do that, then they try and go to the no huddle offense and just kind of let Flacco do what he wants. And he's not up there yet with the Bradys or Mannings or Rodgers. He can't do that yet. And I don't know. If they want to win, they cannot abandon Ray Rice early in the game. But this concludes our 3rd episode of our podcast. It's been a long time since we recorded. We've been busy with holidays and work and just being lazy not doing this. And as always, we would love for you to follow us on Twitter @WithSwagToTheMoon, like us on Facebook @WithSwagToTheMoon, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, which this video is located on. And as always, thank you for listening.
Ask your tits.